Good morning, everyone. Happy Monday morning to you. Welcome back to Morning Musings. My name is Don K. Preston. I am the president of Preterist Research Institute of Ardmore, Oklahoma. Hope you had a fantastic weekend. Listen, before I get into my video this morning, I just have to speak to those of you who have taken advantage of the special book offers. I blew it. I don't know of a different way to say it. I thought I had plenty of inventory purchased. Now, I will say this. When I ordered the inventory, I got notification, okay, it will arrive by the following date. Well, that following date came and went early last week. I didn't get my shipment. So when I checked on it, they told me, oh yeah, it's getting ready to ship out. Well, they had earlier said very clearly it will arrive by early last week. So now I'm still waiting on that. So if you ordered one of the 3 book specials, then I apologize for the fact that we have not shipped them out. I have a stack of orders laying over here on my desk, and we're, according to the shipper, they're due this week. And what's even more frustrating is that other orders that I had placed, after I had placed those orders have already arrived. And so again, number one, I should have had more inventory on hand, but number two, obviously the shipper really messed up. And I don't know why. I've gotten no notification of why. It's just the fact that it is. So again, please accept my apologies on this. We're going to get these orders out. For those of you who placed orders 2 weeks ago and have not gotten it, okay, when we ship your order out, we're going to give you a little bonus for your patience, all right? You'll have something special in addition in your package. So again, my apologies. Well, we're looking at the language of Matthew 24, 29 and 31. Now keep in mind, Jesus told his apostles that they would see the abomination of desolation. He didn't say some future, far-off, unknown generation would see the abomination. He said his apostles, which meant that generation, would see the abomination of desolation. As a direct result of the abomination of desolation, the Great Tribulation, or the tribulation that Jesus said would be nothing like it since there was a nation, nor ever yet shall be. And then he said, in verse 29, immediately after the tribulation of those days. In other words, immediately following that which the apostles would see take place. Okay? Abomination, tribulation, immediately. And he said, you will see the Son of Man coming on the clouds of heaven with power and great glory. The sun will be darkened, the moon will not give its light, the stars of heaven shall be shaken. Now, as I've pointed out to you, we have one of two choices here. We take the language literally, that Jesus was speaking of the dissolution of material creation, the passing of literal physical heaven and earth, or we take it metaphorically. There can be no doubt whatsoever, no doubt, that if Jesus was predicting the literal passing of material, physical heaven and earth, then he was wrong. Last Friday I did a review of Mr. Conley's book, Hope Resurrected, reviewing his comments and claims about the time statements of the Bible. He says time statements are not used in prophetic passages the way that you and I would think of that. But he said apocalyptic language is not used metaphorically. So time words are used basically metaphorically. Apocalyptic language of the passing of the heaven and earth is not used metaphorically. So it's literal physical heaven and earth, but we don't know when we don't know what soon means. We don't know what this generation means. We have no earthly idea of what you will see means. And Mr. Conley made the utterly amazing comment. Because you see, I made this observation. If there's even one out of the over 200 New Testament statements regarding the timing of the end of the age, if even one of those was objectively true that it was near, then Mr. Conley's entire book is falsified. He responded on YouTube, posted, and on his blog. He said it wouldn't prove that my book is false. It would prove the New Testament is false. I don't know how a man could make a more illogical claim. But to move on, I've shared with you over the last couple of weeks of how Jesus' language in Matthew 24:29 and following is taken directly out of the Old Testament. In the prophetic scriptures, the language of material creation, or the language of creation, heaven and earth passing, is common language. And yet, what we learn from those Old Testament prophecies is there's no way in this world for those passages to be taken literally. We looked at Isaiah 13, Isaiah 51. I want to call your attention this morning to Isaiah 24. Now, Isaiah 24 to 27 is what is known as I've shared with you before earlier in this series, the little apocalypse. Scholars are well familiar with the fact that Jesus and the New Testament writers cite from Isaiah 24 through 27 over and over and over again in their eschatological predictions. I want you to notice, and I'm only going to have time this morning to deal with verses 1 to 5, and I'll get the rest of the chapter later in this week, hopefully tomorrow and Wednesday, perhaps Wednesday. Notice, I'm just going to read Isaiah 24, 1 to 5. Behold, the Lord makes the earth empty and makes it waste, distorts its surface, and scatters abroad its inhabitants. And it shall be, as with the people, so with the priest. As with the servant, so with the master. As with the maid, so with their mistress. As with the buyer, so with the seller. As with the lender, so with the borrower. As with the creditor, so with the debtor. The land shall be utterly emptied and utterly plundered, for the Lord has spoken the word. The earth mourns and languishes and fades away. The haughty people of the earth languish. The earth is defiled under its inhabitants because, now I want you to catch the power of this. This destruction of earth is because they have violated the everlasting covenant. Now, when you look at the parallel to this, which is in Hosea, Hosea makes it clear that the law that they had violated was the law of Moses. So here's what I want you to catch. Here is a prediction of the destruction of earth. As we shall see, it's the destruction of heaven and earth. But why? Why would the earth and the heaven and earth be destroyed? Because they, whoever they were, had violated the everlasting covenant. Now look at this language. They have changed the ordinances. They've transgressed the laws. Well, ask yourself the question. What did Israel consider as the law, the ordinances, and the everlasting covenant? What did that refer to in Israel's mindset, in the Hebraic mindset? Did it refer to the gospel of Christ? No. Some say, well, this is the Noahic covenant, the covenant in which God said, I'm going to set my bow in the sky, and I promise to never destroy every living creature as I have done. Genesis 8:20 and 21. And so we are told, here is God making a covenant. Oh, wait a minute. This is a unilateral promise by the Lord, saying, I will never again destroy every living creature as I have done. Okay, since it's a unilateral promise, then man could not violate that covenant. Only Yahweh could violate that covenant, but this doesn't say that Yahweh would violate the Noahide covenant. It's the people. Now, who are these people? When we go down through verse 7 to 12, it is the people living in the city in the midst of the land. And I'll develop that more as we proceed. But here's a very quick question for you. In the Hebraic mindset, who were the people? What was the city that dwelt in the midst of the land? Well, here's a hint and a clue. In the mind of the Hebrews, only one city sat in the midst of the land, according to Ezekiel chapter 5, 5 to 8, and that was Jerusalem. And who was the people that dwelt in that city in the midst of the land? You know, without a doubt, it was Old Covenant, Israel, Judah, and Jerusalem. It absolutely had nothing to do with the Christian age. So, I close this morning by asking the following question. Do you know of any eschatological paradigm that teaches that literal, physical heaven and earth will pass away because of Israel's violation of the law, the ordinances, and the everlasting covenant? Oh, wait a minute. We are constantly told by futurists, no. The law of Moses passed away at the cross. And yet here is the destruction of the land, of the heaven and earth, as a result of Israel's violation of the law, the ordinances, and the covenant. Listen, folks, if your eschatology, which posits a yet future destruction of material heaven and earth, if that doesn't happen because of Israel's violation of the law, the ordinances, and the covenant, then your eschatology is false. But you see, this is not talking about the destruction of literal, physical heaven and earth. It is talking about the destruction of Old Covenant Israel for her violation of the law of Moses. This is highly metaphoric, hyperbolic, exaggerated, figurative language that was never intended to be taken literally. We have more to say on this. Hey, don't forget my January 3-book special. Go to my website, donkpreston.com, BibleProphecy.com. There's a banner right up at the top. Shows you what the books are, how to order. Thanks for joining me for this morning's Morning Musings. I'll see you on the flip side.